A black mail-order bride was dismissed because of her skin color, until fate shifted the moment a wealthy farmer recognized her as his ideal partner. You're Amara Wilson. The man swallowed, his complexion draining as though he'd seen a ghost in daylight. His voice faltered. This won't work. You never said that you were black, Amara completed quietly, sparing Harold Pierce the words he couldn't force out. Her heart dropped as she stood frozen on the station platform, humiliation burning her cheeks. The delicate hat she'd purchased especially for this day now felt absurd, a painful ornament to disgrace. 3 exhausting weeks of travel, 6 months of passionate correspondence, a trunk packed with dreams and the promise of a fresh start, away from the cruelty of the city. All of it shattered in seconds the instant Harold finally looked at her. You wrote so beautifully, he stammered, retreating a step as the bouquet in his trembling hand wilted. I had pictured someone else. Couldn't you have warned me? Amara inhaled slowly, gathering what dignity remained. Warn you of what exactly? That my skin is dark, but my heart sincere? You never asked. Harold's eyes darted around the station. In Riverbrook, a well-dressed black woman already drew attention. A public rejection like this was irresistible spectacle. You must see my position, he muttered. The town. My business. He stepped back again. I'll pay for your return ticket. You seem intelligent. I'm sure you'll understand. A cold calm settled over Amara. Not sorrow, but restrained fury. In his letters, Harold had written of loneliness, of being a widower yearning for connection. He had never mentioned that his heart came with conditions. I spent every cent to come here, she replied steadily. There is nothing to return, too. He pulled crumpled bills from his pocket. This should cover a room for a few nights. That was when a deep voice split the air like thunder. So that's your answer, Pierce? Toss money at the problem and pretend it disappears. As usual, a tall man stood behind Harold, his presence commanding. Simply dressed, unmistakably wealthy, sun-worn, yet authoritative. This doesn't concern you, Maxwell, Harold snapped, though uncertainty leaked into his voice. It does when I watch a man I've known for 15 years act like a coward. The man turned to Amara, his expression softening. Miss, I'm Alexander Maxwell. I own land just beyond town. If you'll allow it, I'd like to offer you lodging at my home until you decide what comes next. Amara nodded cautiously. Experience had taught her that generosity often hid strings. We have unused guest rooms, Alexander continued, and my housekeeper would welcome company. Harold visibly choked. Maxwell, be reasonable. What will people say? Alexander smiled thinly. The same people who rely on my land for their livelihoods. I'd love to hear their thoughts. Harold paled further. Everyone in Riverbrook knew Alexander Maxwell wasn't just a farmer. He owned half the region's productive land. What no one could guess was that Amara carried more than clothing in her trunk. Hidden beneath false panels lay documents capable of shifting power forever. The Maxwell estate was far more than a farm. A grand Victorian mansion rose amid fertile fields and manicured pastures. As the carriage passed through iron gates, Amara felt both awe and suspicion. Riverbrook clings to the past, Alexander explained. Pierce is merely a symptom. Mrs. Foster, the housekeeper, greeted Amara politely, betraying no surprise. The blue room is ready, the one overlooking the garden. That evening, over dinner, Alexander shared his story. The son of a northern banker and an abolitionist schoolteacher, raised on both wealth and principle. Too rich to exile, too different to fully accept, he'd lived on the edge of Riverbrook, society for 15 years. And you, Miss Wilson? He asked. What led you to write such compelling letters? I was a teacher in Boston, Amara said. Literature and history. When the school closed, I knew I had to begin again. She did not mention the inheritance, the gold coins, or the land deed signed in 1866, or the name Joseph Freeman. Days passed. Alexander gave her space. In the mansion's vast library, Amara immersed herself in regional records and forgotten histories. Soon, word spread. Visitors arrived under flimsy pretenses. "You've become an attraction," Alexander noted dryly. Amara smiled bitterly. "I always have been. At least now I'm holding porcelain while they stare." Then Harold Pierce appeared, hat in hand, concern poorly rehearsed. "I just wanted to check on Miss Wilson," he said. "Ask her yourself," Alexander replied. Amara entered poised and transformed. "My plans have changed," she said coolly. "I'll be staying in Riverbrook." "You have nothing here," Harold protested. "I have employment. Mr. Maxwell has appointed me estate librarian." What Harold didn't realize was that the library housed far more than books. 2 weeks later, Town Hall overflowed. "It's an outrage!" Harold shouted. "Maxwell defies tradition." The doors opened. Alexander entered, Amara beside him. "She is not my guest," Alexander announced. "She is a legal representative." Amara opened her briefcase. "I am the great-granddaughter of Joseph Freeman." Silence. She laid out deeds, records, proof. The judge examined them closely. "They appear authentic." Attorney Jeff entered. "They've been verified. The lawsuit is filed." Panic erupted. "I'm not here to destroy," Amara said firmly. "I propose restoration, a foundation, education, housing." Harold collapsed, defeated. "You could have taken everything," Alexander whispered later. "Justice isn't revenge," Amara replied. "It's repair." 6 months later, Riverbrook had changed. Scholarships funded. A public library stood where Harold's store once operated. He had left town quietly, pride shattered. "You spared him," Alexander observed. "Revenge lasts." "A moment," Amara said, watching children play. "This lasts generations." The mansion became Freeman Maxwell House. A marriage, a legacy, a bronze plaque in the town square told Joseph Freeman's story at last. As moonlight settled over Riverbrook, Amara reflected. She had arrived unwanted. Now she belonged, not by approval, but by principle. The lesson echoed beyond the town. When we judge by appearance, we blind ourselves to greatness. And as Amara Wilson Maxwell looked out over the land once stolen from her bloodline, she knew the truest victory wasn't humiliation. It was building something so just and enduring that rejection itself became meaningless. Peace.